Welcome to The Explainer. So I am incredibly excited you're here today because we are tackling a topic that every single rider has to face at some point. And yet, it is easily one of the most misunderstood parts of motorcycle maintenance. Today, we're mastering motorcycle battery care. We're going to do a highly structured visual breakdown comparing traditional lead-acid batteries with modern lithium-ion technology. By the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly how to maintain your bike's power system and, way more importantly, how to never get stranded in your driveway again. Click, 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 and then, usually a few choice words right after that. You guys know exactly the sound I'm talking about, right? It's that dreaded, heart-sinking noise of a completely dead battery ruining a perfectly good riding day the second you hit the starter button. But here's the thing. It really doesn't have to be a universal rider experience. With just a little bit of knowledge and the right habits, the battery powering your bike can actually be 100% reliable. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the dreaded click. 2, battery chemistry and specs. 3, lead-acid maintenance and charging. 4, the lithium-ion upgrade. And finally, 5, choosing the right battery. Let's get right into it.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the dreaded click.
Decades ago, motorcycles didn't even need batteries to function. They used points and condensers, and a swift kick got you going. Fast forward a bit to the recent past, and we got electric starters and fuel injection. But today, now your bike has elaborate lighting systems, electronic ignition, and this massive suite of super delicate riding aids. Your battery isn't just turning the engine over anymore. It has to power accessories during extended idling and act as a really critical buffer to protect those highly sensitive electronic riding aids from electrical surges. The job description has completely changed.
Moving right along to Section 2, battery chemistry and specs.
Let's start with amp hours, or AH. The easiest way to think about this, it's basically the size of your motorcycle's electrical gas tank. This rating tells you a battery's ability to provide a steady current over an extended period, usually based on 10 or 20-hour ratings. So if your bike's stator can't keep up while you're just idling in heavy traffic, the amp-hour rating dictates exactly how long you can run your electrical accessories before the battery goes completely flat.
Next up, we have cold cranking amps, or CCA. If amp hours are the size of the gas tank, think of CCA as the size of the fuel hose. This rating reflects the battery's ability to quickly deliver a massive, high burst of current to get the engine spinning, especially when it's freezing outside. When you hit that starter button, you need a seriously wide hose to dump a ton of energy into the starter motor all at once.
And this perfectly illustrates why different riders need totally different batteries. On the left, picture a heavy touring rig, loaded with heated grips, an alarm, aftermarket lights, just crawling through traffic. That rider desperately needs high amp hours, right? A massive electrical fuel tank. But on the right side, consider a high-compression sport bike. If you are trying to crank over a high-performance beast like a Ducati Panigale on a freezing spring morning, you honestly don't care about running accessories. You need high-cold cranking amps. You just need that massive burst of starting energy.
All right, diving into Section 3, lead-acid maintenance and charging.
So if you let your bike sit over the winter without giving it any love, parasitic draw from things like clocks or alarms will drain the battery and trigger what we call the failure cycle of neglect. First up is sulfation. As the battery discharges, a byproduct called lead sulfate literally coats the internal electrode plates, drastically reducing their surface area and capacity. And if you wait too long, that's permanent. Next is internal corrosion, where the physical connections break down inside. Then comes freezing. A completely discharged battery's acid basically turns to water, which can freeze and literally rupture the battery case right open. Finally, shorting. If it's completely dead, the active material just falls off the plates, pools at the bottom, and completely shorts the whole unit out. So how do we actually stop this cycle? It all comes down to a safe charging protocol. Step 1. If you aren't riding for more than a few weeks, just disconnect or remove the battery. Step 2. Always use a motorcycle-specific smart charger. These are designed to bring a depleted battery up quickly and then hold a safe voltage without causing any damage. And Step 3. This is the golden rule of charging math. Set your maximum charge rate to your battery's amp-hour rating divided by 10. That right there is your optimum safe charge rate.
Okay, please pay very close attention to this warning. Do not use a standard garden variety automotive car charger on your motorcycle. Car chargers overwhelm small power sports batteries with insanely high rates of charge. If the small motorcycle battery can't absorb that massive rate, it overheats. This creates hydrogen gas, which can actually trip the safety valves on sealed units, or literally boil all of your electrolyte away while just destroying the plates. It is a major safety risk. Just don't do it.
Now, it's definitely worth noting that despite containing hazardous materials like lead acid batteries are remarkably sustainable if you dispose of them properly. They're essentially 100% recyclable. The lead makes up about 33%, the polypropylene plastic case is another 33%, and that sulfuric acid, which is safely neutralized, makes up the remaining 34%. It's this incredible closed-loop system that safely produces over 50 million power sports batteries globally every single year.
Moving on to Section 4, the lithium-ion upgrade.
5.5 pounds. Now that is not the weight of the battery. That is the dramatic amount of weight saved when testers swapped a stock lead-acid battery for an aftermarket Shorai lithium-ion unit on an R1. I mean, think about it. Normally, putting your bike on a 5.5-pound diet costs thousands of dollars in exotic titanium and carbon fiber, but here, you're getting it just by swapping a little black box.
So the crucial point here is understanding the specific characteristics of these upgrades, technically known as lithium iron phosphate or LiFePO4 batteries. First, as we just saw, they are incredibly light, up to 1/4 the weight and 25% smaller than lead acid. Second, their self-discharge rate is absolutely amazing. They can sit on a shelf for months and still hold a charge. However, and this is a huge however, they are highly sensitive to the parasitic drain from your bike's electronics. Manufacturers like Full Spectrum highly recommend completely disconnecting them if the bike sits for more than 30 days. Furthermore, they require dedicated, specific lithium chargers. Standard smart chargers actually can't read their voltage correctly and can fry the internal electronic protection circuitry. But finally, they're much more chemically stable than the lithium-ion batteries found in, say, your laptop, which means they avoid thermal runaway and all those nasty fire risks associated with other lithium chemistries.
And finally, Section 5, choosing the right battery.
Okay, let's put them head to head. If budget is your primary concern, lead acid is your clear winner with a much lower initial cost. However, if weight is an issue, say you're doing a lot of track days, lithium iron drops that weight to roughly 1/4 of stock. Now, what about the off-season? Lead acid has high self-discharge and demands a smart trickle charger, whereas lithium iron holds a charge wonderfully, provided you disconnect it so your bike's computers don't drain it dry. Environmentally, lead acid is fully recyclable, while lithium iron contains complex protection circuits that really can't be easily recycled. And finally, don't forget the chargers. Lead acid requires a standard smart charger, but lithium iron absolutely demands a specialized charger to properly balance its specific cell voltage.
So based on how often you ride and the electrical demands of your specific motorcycle, which chemistry is going to power your next start? Seriously, take a second and think about your own garage setup. Do you have access to a power outlet for a trickle charger? Are you running heated gear on a cross-country tour? Or are you trying to shave ounces for a canyon carve? Take what you've learned from this explainer today, match the chemistry to your actual riding habits, and you'll never have to hear that dreaded click, click, click ever again. Thanks for hanging out with me on the explainer.